ready to take a peek at which map it's going to be.
Yeah, let's see which maps we're going to be playing on. We've seen Villa played before, but because C9 played it, and they had actually fantastic first show of Villa once they played it versus Noble a couple weeks ago. Well, that man, actually exactly 1 week ago, Villa will be banned out. Same for, where's the second grade? Oh yeah, actually no, it doesn't.
On board Oregon, well, not gonna have to worry about those ones.
Okay, what will we go for after this?
Still have Clubhouse, Coastline, Consulate. The 3 Cs are still on the board as Coastline goes off.
SK would probably leave Bank in. I think we'll go for a Bank after this. No, what? SK banning Bank.
All right.
What is going on in the world?
Clubhouse or Consulate? I would love to see some more Clubhouse. I feel like we still haven't seen enough to completely.
Consulate is grayed out, but we can't actually see that. Well, we played Clubhouse, which is great.
All right.
I love Clubhouse.
Oh, the IC Consulate was the other one that was auto banned. Nice. Clubhouse it is then. Sweet. This is the one that Cloud9 tied on with EG previously. So that was interesting. So we know Cloud9 has strats for this. This is the one that was one of my favorite plays of them was watching Schlongy playing the Montaigne with Retro behind him on Blackbeard, just pushing their way in through Dirt Tunnel down the basement. It was fun to see.
I honestly want to put that whole matchup on the fact that EG banned Smoke.
Yeah, and that was an interesting choice. I don't imagine we're going to see something that radical in this matchup, but
even when SK played against EG ended up because I was watching this. I was watching this at home with Shas, actually, Benta. And we're looking at the bans, like, Zofia was banned. Like, wow, this is a pretty good ban from SK, knowing that NVK plays Zofia all the time. Then it's like, oh no, that was EG's ban. What? So, yeah, there's some decisions that sometimes come in to blindside your opponents. Not everything ends up working out, but I guess, there you go.
Well, maybe if EG win a match, we can interview them and ask. Either way, though, we will be
Cloud9 actually, but
yeah. Well, there's been a lot of ties, and I know ties are kind of a controversial thing, but so is Infinite Overtime. There's a variety of ways to try and resolve the issue of who's the best. So far, though, what we have for this season is resulting in quite a few ties, but that's proving that all these teams are fairly closely matched, which is something I would agree with. Most of these teams are fairly closely matched, so it is not a surprise that we're going to see that. We probably will see at least one tie today. Let's be realistic. It's just a question of which teams are going to end up tying, though, and I think maybe some of the later teams.
This means we will have no ties, by the way.
No, of course, right.
Usually
whatever I say will do.
Whatever, yeah, exactly.
That's my superpower at some point, is to just cancel out anything by saying it'll happen. So.
Well, yeah, we've seen a decent chunk of ties, and obviously this whole system is built around being consistent. Yeah. Now, because of the fact that Pro League was pushed back for 2 weeks, that doesn't really help with the case, but still. Anyways, we always value our point of view, so let's take a look at the community vote, as now we've added a third option, which is a draw. So, SK Gaming with 44, Cloud9 43.
That's basically a draw across the board almost. Cloud9 just 1% less. So maybe they just take 1% off the draw and then just make it even, 44, 12, 44. Well, I guess you guys think this is a pretty evenly close match. I mean, to be honest, I'm going to be favoring SK just off of previous game history, but at the same time, because, I mean, if you use EG as the benchmark, for example, Cloud9 tied EG, SK beat EG 6-2 on border. So that leans a little towards SK.
Yeah, you look at SK's run so far, which has been pretty good because their matches have been against hard hitters early on in the season. So SK have performed pretty impressively, especially having Nyx on the board.
Yeah.
We expected to be, a couple of weeks where he would transition into the team. Honestly, instant hit. Worked out just fine.
Faster than ZZ.
Unfortunately, but still, SK definitely, theoretically speaking, crunching the math itself, it definitely leans toward SK Gaming. C9 haven't had the hottest season, and their performance on LAN over the past couple of events doesn't really lend to them.
Maybe that'll light a fire under their butt, though, and this will be like a serious, really good effort from that will showcase something we hadn't seen previously.
Speaking of things we haven't seen, is SK on LAN.
Yeah, one of these days. It's been a while.
It's been actually last time they played, their lineup was completely different. Not only different org, but they had Zilchi on it.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's because that was back when there was 3 spots, so there was a spot available for them.
That was Katowice Season 4.
Yeah.
In May 2017. That was my first event, actually. We cast it together. Our second game we ever casted together was Flipside versus G-Bots.
I'll be honest,
Bank.
I think I was kind of mean to SK at that time because G-Bots were kind of crapping on them. it was not a good match for SK at that time. That was back when they were Flipside, for those of you who don't recall.
That was the event where everybody from NA got knocked out first round. So
that was not a good day for NA.
I still remember the videos that were put out. I think Ranger still has the NA loser bus video.
That was they were celebrating, but not for a W.
Yeah. So. Well, it'll be interesting to see how we play things on Clubhouse, because we've seen a lot of teams playing cash room and server.
Yeah.
And and we'll mention IDK in this because they've had an extremely successful run on that site because of the way that they played, having one player always holding off in the bedroom and then playing around the cash room and the server. But there's also another part to it, is that the attackers have not always been attacking in the standard way of, we'll push from the balcony and just open up the doorway directly into the server. Teams have been taking it from the other side of the map by pushing in from the desk.
Which I think has generally been more successful.
Yeah, and then on top of that, even some of them have been pushing in from the garage, up the stairs, through the server wall. And some teams have been setting it up in a way where they just they don't reinforce that wall and just blow out the lower parts of it to shoot at a Monty, because there's been a lot of Monty plays over the past
especially from...
Chaos.
Yeah, well, not just from Chaos, but from... starts with a V. Why am I forgetting the name all of a sudden? Vitality. Yeah. But they played a lot of it. They had Zephyr on Montaigne constantly, which was different for sure. So there's definitely a chance we'll see Monty on this map, just because from a variety of teams we've seen that be the case.
Yeah, I wonder what the bans will be as we head on to the game later on. However, we have a few technical difficulties with the players as they're trying to log into the lobby, so we'll take a couple minutes break. Then from that, we'll come back for a matchup. Hopefully, it takes as little as possible, because I'm pretty excited to be back in Pro League. See you in a couple.
Stylish on the outside, savage on the inside. Legion by Lenovo.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to NA Pro League. Thanks for hanging on as we head into our first matchup of the day. All technical problems have been solved. Let's just head right on in. Map number 1 of the day, because there's 4.
Yeah.
It's not a best-of-3 series, I know. We change around so many things depending on the tournament, but there you go. We head into Clubhouse and New Clubhouse, if you haven't seen it yet. Where have you been? This map is so much more entertaining to watch nowadays.
That's for sure.
We'll head into the ban phase with C9 starting off first.
What will we get? Will it be Glaz? The old boring
Hibana, I guess.
Could be Hibana. Hibana's pretty common for this map, as well as sometimes for Oregon. No, Lion.
Lion first. Okay. Makes sense.
Yep. A lot of teams just don't want to deal with him. He's just such a bully.
I wonder why.
I think it's just, you know, because they don't like that 3-second countdown. It distracts them from playing. What's the second one going to be? This has got to be Glaz, though, right? No, Hibana. All right.
There you go.
So that means Glaz will be in play, though, which should be interesting to see if
Glaz and Monty.
Yeah, Glaz and Monty for sure.
Which means Bar is gonna be even more complicated to hold.
Yeah. Don't play Bar at this point. Unfortunately, it's just not working out for these guys. But let's see what we get for the first defensive ban. Oh, there we go. The uncommon defensive ban of Mira. So this is always the interesting one. The second one, the one that's not Mira, is the one that's going to be the big question mark that we need to see here. And well, we get something
Maestro
interesting
or
like
Echo?
Yeah, I mean Maestro and Echo are unfortunately the
go.
most. I think they're kind of becoming the duller bands. I'm always a little disappointed when we go with those. But that means Maestro will very likely be played by these guys. Maestro gets played quite a bit when he's not banned.
I mean, cash room, super strong.
Yeah.
If you set him in Armory, if you're defending Church,
They're good
super strong. You can literally play him anywhere, and he's still really, really good. And there you go. Church, as you mentioned, will be the first one to go for.
Something
Maestro,
that's actually uncommon now, surprisingly.
Yeah, who would have thought? Bar is still the least played.
Yeah.
It's definitely cash room, then Church, then bedroom, then Bar.
Yeah, and there are some teams that at first that bedroom was kind of the second, and I feel like teams are starting to realize that may not be the best idea.
Yeah.
The bedroom's good, but not great. I mean, bedroom is kind of in the status of where Bar was, in a sense.
Yeah, but it's still very doable for the defense and a lot of stuff that we've done. Hot and cold, switch off the Glaz, and C9 will go for the Maestro. It'll be the Thatcher picked up here for HNC. Zofia as well from it.
Well, that's going to trick them up there. Although I have to imagine it was because they saw, what was that, the mute they switched to the Maestro from?
Yeah, I mean, at the start, Goddess wanted to lock in the Maestro, but she went for the mute and then went back to Maestro. At this point, Maestro wouldn't be a surprise.
But that's the thing, though, is the mute actually tricked Hot and Cold into 6-picking the Thatcher. Because you don't need the Thatcher if they're not running a Bandit or a mute now.
But it still does disable the Maestro cameras, right?
Oh, it sure does for like a few seconds.
For like 10 seconds, I think, in total.
It's not really a dramatic difference unless you're going to count on Jarvis's smoke being a key play on that play, which it might be. We'll see them.
It definitely will depend on timing.
Yeah.
If you want to play in that style. Retro bringing the impact nades on the smoke.
Something that's actually somewhat uncommon a lot of times, smoke, is going to be the one kind of doing the barbed wire duty along with Jaeger, occasionally you see Jaeger with a deployable shield as well, which is kind of been hot and cold in terms of, not literally hot and cold the player, but I just mean in terms of off and on being used in different strategies. Clubhouse Basement is one of those ones where we do occasionally see a deployable shield. But in this case, we'll see. We are going to see the Evil Eye get stuck up on the wall somewhere when they can figure out how.
Just wants to put it down on the desk itself.
There we go.
There you go. Finally.
And they did open up a good chunk of that wall there going into Armory, so we'll see if that factors into, Arsenal rather.
It has backfired to teams in the past.
Well, Hibana is banned though, which means it's a little more difficult slightly to open that kitchen hatch, which makes it a little less likely to backfire, but still nonetheless, I imagine Pojo's going to open that hatch if he wants to.
I mean, a lot of people, with the Thermite, obviously you only get 2 charges, so most of the time what you'll see is the hatch in blue being opened, and the second hatch is going to be the one from the bar. which means you'll have a couple line of sights because you're going to push in from Moto and from Blue more often than not.
Blue hatch has definitely become important. Just Blue itself is like, for those who not understand what we're talking about, it's the generator hallway area that has this new set of stairs.
Marcio, can we just give a a quick clap, easy clap for Marcio, our fantastic observer here, showing you all the tips and tricks for the setups.
Now, I've talked about this a little bit before. When we saw the new clubhouse, we're thinking, wow, these blue stairs, now there'll be this roam play on basement. It'll be amazing. Like, yeah, you can claymore the garage ladder like we just saw, but, you know, they can rotate now. We're still not seeing these people playing a lot of roam on basement. So there goes the blue hatch there that you were mentioning earlier from Pojo. This is his second thermite charge. So, yeah, definitely not going to be opening up kitchen hatch.
Expected very much, but some teams, especially in Europe, at least ton of that we've seen in the past week for DreamHack, we got to see a lot of visual play upstairs in the office. So even when it was basement defense, this is, the office, construction near it, all of that, this area, including the bedroom, offers a lot for the defenders if they choose to roam. But wherever they may roam, as they say, will be difficult.
Well, we got Laxing interesting on Pulse here, something we don't see him playing a lot, but that will be helpful. Unfortunately, the push is starting to come down, and Smoke is going to have to do his job now. Retro took a bit of damage, but he got the smoke canister off, so still worth it. But 40 seconds left to actually make this push happen. At least they're all surrounding site.
Oh, Capital Bolt's going to get thrown in by the generators. Nix's grenade will connect with Retro. That's the smoke finally eliminated. No more canisters to be used. Hot and Cold making sure that the site is clear, and you know what? It still is not. There's one player up in the back, and Laxing peeking using the hole that you were mentioning before here through the hallway from the Arsenal room. Peek in, and Laxing gets one more on Pojo Man. Just sticks behind the church bars. Mint gets one, though. Hot and Cold with another. Jarvis will get shot down as Hot and Cold one more on Schlongy. All up to Laxing as Mint will clean him up with the M762, and that's SK with an aggressive, very timely push to get the plant done and dusted on Church. It seems like there's a big departure from the metagame in Season 7 where you would bring Habana and Ying and you would push to the last 15 seconds for it. This is, we've got everything done in the checklist completely done by the first, by the first minute or so of the round. So it's much more efficient to see nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, two things definitely went in their factor that round. One was they cleared the entire rest of the map, like fairly swiftly to a sense. I mean, they didn't get any kills out of it, but once they had control of all around the bomb site, and then getting that kill on a Retro somewhat early into the push definitely made it so that the one gas canister he got off was not very impactful, and then it just came down to just good executing at that point. Hot and Cold, unfortunately, faking that Monty, so instead he's going to be going with that Thatcher again. This time, they are sticking on the mute from the looks of it on Laxing, so we'll see if that Thatcher is going to be impactful in stopping that from being a big factor. But now they're going to be playing up in bedroom, where you might get a little more use out of that. Now, they're not bringing the castle, and that is something that is usually a big factor in this strategy in terms of how you're playing this bomb site, because the windows themselves are so problematic. You want to make sure that it's a little more difficult for them to open those, as well as making sure they can't just shoot down that hallway that Retro just walked out of. It is a difficult bomb site to do with this particular defensive setup.
But this is why I like the setup from the attackers. Jarvis, as you mentioned, brings the Capitao quite a bit. And I think Capitao on this site definitely brings a lot. Now, Laxing, we'll get into that in just a second, but just to highlight, Laxing is bringing a bulletproof camera. And you'll see he's setting it up in the servers. No, that's just a mute jammer that he's setting down. There's cameras not sitting just yet. But there's some pretty, there you go. So he's going to have a mute jammer to protect it from the side, just to be sure there's anybody trying to contest those defenders, sneaky defenders in the back of cash room. But more to the point, Jarvis with the Capitao crossbow bolt can't be shot down by ADSs from the Jaeger. Yeah. And it definitely is easier to smoke things off in this exact wall here from the gym into the bedroom, and make sure that those defenders stay back for the fire bolts.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely does scream a gym plant, because you want to get in there, you want to cut off any kind of crossfire coming from the bedroom itself. We'll see which they start to take there, because Mint is actually rotating over to the other side for cash room, potentially, because they have the thermite of Pojo to be able to open this wall up on the cash room, and then potentially even open up the hot tub side as well. Now, they don't have a bandit. That means a mute jammer will be the only thing stopping them, and that's pretty easily taken care of by a Thatcher, because you're not going to mute trick it or anything. So I do think it should be fairly easy for them to open up, as long as Thermite keeps one of his charges for that. Nice little goo mine there, going to slow Nyx down slightly, but They are making steady progress, and having the IQ here as well means that it'll be fairly easy for Thatcher to do his job accurately.
There you go. The only way to shoot the camera is to shoot it on its side. To shut it down, though. Schlongi in the back of the cash room. Nick's still holding the angle, making sure nobody can out-peek them, and there you go. The Jaeger peeks in. It's a quick kill from Nix, but Laxing refrags. Very important. Make sure you get the kill back and put your team in at least an equilibrium. Now, losing the Jaeger to the IQ is pretty alright, but Jarvis somehow makes it happen on the Capitao as he stays alive, and Mitt gets a second on Laxing, turning to a 4v2.
Well, that was definitely an unfortunate slow peak there from the Maestro. Fox had the timing there, it just didn't shoot fast enough, and now they're down to a 4v2 in a second round. They're just not doing very well on in terms of the attackers getting so much control of pretty much everywhere around the bomb site. Again, this seems to be SK's strategy, is let's just take as much as possible. When we were talking earlier about taking from the other side as opposed to just pushing directly on the site and how effective that is, partially because you just cage the defenders in one area. If you can start to out-frag them on the actual site, then it starts to fall apart, because that window that Hot and Cold just came out of, that is the main weakness of pushing under Jim. They took that over, they took control of it. It's surprising to see all of them pretty much abandon it, but with only 2 defenders left, all they've got to do is smoke out and shoot. Well, Retro's down. It's all down to Goo Mines to try and stop. I don't think that's going to stop this plan.
Yeah, Goo Mines are pretty good, and we hype up Legion quite a bit, but not when you're being burned to death and stunned and flashed and grenaded. And Hot and Cold comes around from the back. Another Goo Mine's going to get thrown out from Goddess here. Elias floats things down as Hot and Cold just fires the entire magazine to the side, and Mint will finish off C9 as SK put the second round on the board. Looking at this round, what was really wrong with that defense from C9, but what was really going right for SK in their setup?
I mean, a lot of it did come down to the defense. We were talking about the lack of castle, for example. So that wasn't a huge factor till the end, because obviously they weren't too dependent on attacking that gym right away. But the fact that the team giving up cash room and the construction connector is always, I think, problematic for me, because the thing about playing upstairs that made it viable, the one thing they changed was adding that construction connector, expanding the bomb site. If you remember back to when people were trying to play cash room previously, in fact, SK was one of those teams that tried it occasionally, it was about expanding the area that you controlled. So you would open up into the garage via an impact nade, which you don't have to do now thanks to the window. But it was about expanding it. You had more area, you weren't getting boxed in by the attackers, and you could kind of play there. In this case, I mean, some of them got picked off fairly early before the actual push happened. But again, letting yourself get boxed in by the other side of it is really problematic. And some of the better defenders we've seen, like when we saw some of the matches with Vitality and stuff like that, would play from down in the oil pit and garage, or play some of those the garage entrance down by launch.
With oil pit.
Yeah, just play some ways to expand it out. Like Jaeger's pretty good at being able to rotate both oil pit as well as the lounge door. So just having some more area to play around to defend the cash room, for example, is, I think, a big factor in holding that. Letting them just take that. I mean, obviously they try to fight it a little bit, but I mean, SK though, however, have been very coordinated on their attacks. They're putting a lot of manpower on single attacks as opposed to trying to 1v1 trade. Like, they just took cash room and they didn't go, oh, let's send one guy in to poke at it, another guy to poke at another side. Just, you know, just crush it basically, and then push in from there once they had control of that. And no retake kind of happening from Cloud9.
The interesting thing is that since C9 aren't running a defense that is more heavy on the hallway in the back, there's what we call the death hallway. You know, you would expect some bit of poking around by the cash room by SK and then trying to push into the gym, but it seems like they're having very, very good luck in just smashing through the defense. And it all relies on the utility being used from the entire team correctly. So, you know, of course, Nick's coming in, scanning everything with his IQ, making sure they have a beat on everything electronics that's set up. You can kind of prepare for ADS positions, how many grenades you have to use to burn it, where the potential positions will be like to try and, you know, come in, draw them out, contest with them. I like C9's idea of having that bulletproof camera being set on the servers, but maybe it would be better if it was just a C4.
I mean, you have Evil Eyes. You don't necessarily need the bulletproof cameras. It's slightly redundant in a sense, but it's nice to have those just in case. Either way, those will get grenaded out if it becomes a problem for them. It's not a big deal. As you said, they can see those ADSs, but this firefight really not working out for anyone. They have shot more cash than people.
Unfortunate here, but Schlongen gets one hot and cold on the refrag, always making sure they get the kills back, and it's pretty much a copy-paste of a previous round. You saw Pojo Man coming in, there was nobody to contest him from below. On the Thermite, goes up, Thermite's the wall, opens things up into the cash room, so they have multiple angles here, the attackers of SK, to shoot through into their opponents. Now, Jarvis, yet again, comes around to hold down any rotations. He's got to be careful of a potential run out from Laxing.
That was really close, too. Just the timing there, barely saving Jarvis's life, because I feel like Laxing might have won that gunfight just off surprise alone. But either way, that will be a factor, I think, late in this round if Laxing can creep up those stairs, because they're not focused on controlling the actual stairwell itself. And that will give him an opportunity to help, especially if he's carrying a C4 still at the moment, to potentially deny the plant just a little bit longer, as they're pretty much depending on the smoke and the Legion to actually slow it down.
Nobody in the bars. CC9 heading on up. Goddess has preset her goo mines, but they'll need more of them. They'll try to burn Retro out of the bathroom as more bolts are being lobbed right into him. An extra bolt as well. Make sure Goddess does not have a line of sight. Jarvis runs right into the bedroom. He'll hit 2 goo mines, which means that he only needs to remove one of them. Hot and Cold still gets 1 kill, and there we go. Maestro hitting it from the back. Unfortunately, it's not enough to shut down that diffuser plant. It will be set as Fox and Goddess will get a kill each. With 2 left alive from SK, they're holding the perfect crossfire angles. And Legion will try to contest this here as Pojo is in construction. Hot and Cold with 1 kill, turning to 2v2. Laxing and Fox, the MVPs of the team in the past. One of them will go down. Fox is spotted. Pojo Man shuts him down. And SK Gaming dominant in round number 3.
Definitely a much better round that time for Cloud9, mostly because they didn't lose so many people going to the attack. Smartly didn't have anyone in the bathroom to get burned out by a Capitao. The smoke was a good setup for that plant, but the Goo Mines at least doing their job that round. They delayed Jarvis getting the plant down a little bit, which gave them some more time to position, but unfortunately Laxing run out, not working out for them. I feel like he really could have been the game changer that round, but they were just too on top of it in terms of the positioning and knowing exactly where they were trying to play to counterplay their attack, and it's just good, smart game sense coming out from SK that's making sure they're dominating all of their gunfights. And again, the early trades you were talking about, they're managing to trade for sure, and then having just this grouped up bunch of guys that could, in theory, be destroyed by C4 just off their close proximity alone. Instead, they're just covering each other really, really well.
Yeah, and that crossfire was as good as it gets, really, if you're SK Gaming. And you know, the run out definitely didn't work out, and it wasn't timed correctly with Fox returning back on the site.
No.
If that was timed better, maybe we would have seen a difference. But Han Cold on top with 6 kills. It's, the rest of the team really putting a lot of work in, to say the least. Yeah, fairly successful. But now we finally get to see a defense on Cash and CCTV themselves.
Which is surprising, because this was normally the primary site, and this is the one we saw, especially over Valencia, how often teams would try it, even if they didn't, most of the time didn't win it the first time, which is interesting that they were being more persistent with Bedroom rather than trying to do Cash, because they felt, you know, Bedroom is one that's maybe a little underrated and sometimes been more reliable for certain teams. But unless it took them 2 tries to win it, now they're already on their second to last defensive round here.
A bigger fan of setting up the camera in that way when you're defending Cash, not when you're playing at Bedroom.
Well, because they give up Cash anyways. What are you really seeing? Yeah, there's a bunch of guys in there, and we can't do anything about it.
Yeah,
so
basically. It can count as a waste of equipment, but there you go. Goddess will set up an extra Evil Eye. It'll help them in case of any final rushes on to the objective. The Mute's playing from below, but of course no C4. Can't really do much with that. And very efficient here from SK Gaming, realizing the setup is very heavy on the garage. They'll just come on in from the bedroom, and this is why I'm a big fan of the way IDK do this defense. Is just having at least 1 player on this side of the map, or the bedroom, and you'll have really a lot of information, but also potential to contest and get a kill off of it, and then fall back There's quite a few spots from construction itself that you can use to your advantage as a defender, but what C9 are opting for here is just making sure they reinforce as many walls as humanly possible.
Well, now they know about the mute jammer, and Thatcher makes easy work of it, which I think the combo's been working out fairly well for them, because all this defensive utility that keeps being set up by Cloud9 is shut down so easily with the combination of those two. And then Pojo's been fairly reliably opening walls, because despite Bandit not being banned, they're just not bothering with them. They're all depending on mute. And unfortunately, I don't think that's really doing much for them, but maybe Laxing will get something going with that C4 this round to make up for it.
No, he's still with a bulletproof camera.
Oh, no, that's right. He's going with the bulletproof camera every time. It's just... All right, well, we'll see if it works this round.
I see what they want to do by not having a Mira. The bulletproof camera can bring a lot of... Oh, boy.
At least they have the castle barricade this round.
That's the wrong lifeline.
Yeah, well, it doesn't do damage, at least, to your teammates, so...
We see the Evil Eye that's been preset by the Maestro. So you can't chuck in a grenade to try and blow it up. Time it a bit better, and there you go. It will get blown up. Smoke will throw, and this is a bit of an early dedication to gas canisters, but this is exactly what SK are trying to do. Bait out as much of the utility as possible, and then force the defenders with little cover to contest you.
And it's interesting, too, that they don't bring a smoke player that's throwing smoke grenades. They completely depend on Jarvis being able to smoke with his crossbow, which means they don't have to worry about ADSs when they go for a plant. And I like that little extra bit that they get from that combined with the crossbow bolt from fire.
Speaking of crossbow bolts, we'll already hear one coming in as Hot and Cold gets the first kill, and that is on the Jaeger. God is taking a lot of damage behind here in the cash room. Pocho Man in the back. What is this? Laxing is pushed up very close. We'll get one kill off of it, but that is killing the code away of SK as C9 dropping at the end. RG15 being pulled out by the Zofia. Can't get the final kill as Hot and Cold has complete control. And C9's entire defense basically just, hey, we'll contest from the one doorway, and then, oh, we can't, because they have two angles on us now. I mean, SK didn't even bother opening up a second wall from the servers with their thermite, so...
They just pushed very hard from construction. And again, that's why I feel like giving up construction and pushing from construction is really good, and just giving it up is a bit of a waste. I mean, yeah, you can only contest it so much, you can only fight it so much, but it's much... I'd rather see a team fight it, try and get someone to get a trade, than just try and hide back. I mean, I appreciate Laxing trying to go for these flanks, trying to do these different approaches with a bit of roaming, but it's just not working out for him round after round. He did get at least one kill that time, and I believe stopped the plant, which was a start.
He covered it as the planter ran in, which in my mind is a mistake from SK, because they didn't wait for the smoke of the Capitao to bloom correctly. But, you know, Laxing with the first one on the trigger, got the first kill off of it. Unfortunately, and even though he wasn't on site, it didn't work out. The bulletproof camera gave them some info, but the push didn't even come in from the window. They had information on who was outside, but with the window being opened up in construction and the wall having been thermited as well leading into the cash room, the Zofia can just sit back and chuck those lifelines all day, every day. But
well, at least the bulletproof camera does give them some visibility through the smoke, but again, seems a bit redundant when you're already bringing Maestro.
Now we'll see how things play out here as we head to the bar and the stock.
Yeah, it should be interesting. They're even bringing an Alibi this time to change things up a little bit, and they're kind of shifting who's playing Maestro every time. And then we're going to see a castle again, which I think is a good idea, just didn't do enough for them last round.
I wonder where Laxing will set up his Prismas. And there you go, one fairly obvious one. And, okay, so these are mostly end of round kind of Prismas.
Yeah, during the push.
Yeah, and I don't see how the first one in stock would be super relevant. But still, it definitely can hamper a team that does not really spot it quick enough. Nyx will have a complete, complete line of sight on it. Obviously, having the IQ, so that's something's gonna be a big boon to SK.
Yeah, they're probably gonna kind of see it coming to an extent, but you never know if one of them is just not. They don't communicate it well to the teammates, because obviously other people don't see what IQ sees. But there we go.
There you go.
And ironically, that is from the IQ, and Schlongi gets a kill in a minute. Now this is an important kill, because that is the one soft breacher they have against all these castle barricades. So Mint dying first really hampers SK's attack here.
Yeah, it's a great kill early on from C9, and not a moment too soon, really. And we're on round 5, so last round on the defense. Jarvis gets one, and that's the alibi eliminated. So now they know whenever you see that alibi hologram, it's 100% a Prisma and not the actual operator. It's very important. Again, we mentioned it so many times, but still, getting refrags and making sure that your opponent never really has a manpower advantage to play flanks against you is a top priority, really, when you're engaging in gunfights, other than obviously getting kills off of it. But Smoke's going to throw in his first canister as Nyx peeks in, and there's not really much to contest. The Evil Eye, though, will get info on.
Yeah, there is the one at least hiding on the other side of the bar. And now they're starting to push back a little bit. They do at least have the one kill for this push to be helped a little bit. And this almost the second one, Retro, again, almost dying too early. I don't like how aggressive Retro's been because he's not winning gunfights.
And Jarvis taking damage from the camera sit in the back as Jarvis still taking down Goddess. She runs into his Claymore. Fox trying to find the information here. There you go. So the Evil Eye has pretty much infinite range. So
yeah,
you got to watch out. He can still hit all the way in the back, and having lost to Zofia early on definitely makes things difficult for SK. Fox, though, gets one on Jarvis to turn it into 2v2. Schlongi, the man that got the first kill on the board for C9, he is low on health with pretty much no hope of being picked up, but they know where the diffuser is, as SK is going to pick it up finally. But the Maestro is going to try to contest. He doesn't have line of sight into this part of the map, though. Nyx will have to stick it. No, Fox gets one kill. Can he clutch this one out? There's 2 left alive. Nyx will get one. He has to go for the plant. There's little time on the clock. Schlongi is so low on health. Nyx at the last second will clutch it. SK to put the 5th round on the board. Nyx realizing he either sticks it or gets the kill, and the information from SK, and the communication is absolutely on point.
You could tell because he pre-fired that.
Yeah.
Dude, that wasn't even like, oh,
that was a drone waiting for him.
Yeah, it was like, just shoot the door, hope you get the kill. Obviously, if he misses too many of those shots, time's out. Even if he hits some of them and it wasn't enough damage, but Schlongi was already so low on health.
That really has to put the hurt on Cloud9. And I wonder if they're going to go for the Blackbeard Monty lineup again.
At this point, you're going to want to bully them however you can because you are at match point already. Match and map point because it's the best of 1. So there it is, Schlongi and Retro doing the one thing they do pretty well on this map, and then laxing on Fuse. That should be fun to see.
What is happening here?
I got to imagine they know Cash Room is the primary for most teams, probably planning on attacking Cash Room first. It was a little odd to watch Zephyr constantly pushing. There we go, he's just teasing. He's been playing a pretty good Twitch, so that doesn't surprise me. But the Rook, he's going to go with Legion. And that is a good play against the Monty, so yeah, that makes sense. But the thing is, I mean, the Smoke has really been more of his enemy most of the time. From what we've seen, just I was talking about when Zephyr was playing it, most of the time it was about the Smoke at the bottom of the stairs because they would try and push Monty up to the window, which is a good strategy. But the Smoke at the bottom of the stairs kept delaying him over and over and over. The thing is, though, if you have the Legion sticking that corner of that catwalk, like they often do, that gives them the opportunity to just continue to throw out goo mines onto that stairwell as they try and push up. So we'll see if they can delay him for long enough, but it is a pretty good combo when Retro goes with him. However, they have to worry about height here. It's a situation where they were doing that most of the time when they were pushing on vertical or horizontal attacks. But if they're pushing, they are wanting to open the heck out of this here. Oh, they're trying to open up the top of it for an impact nade in case they need to. Because Hot and Cold's bringing the impact nades. The impact nade tricked the little thing, and that's why he's going to be hiding behind that shield there. However,
that is a very interesting setup here from SK.
Well, that's going to protect his own back to make sure if they try and open up the garage behind him, now they can stop it. So
and that's the thing. Usually, you come in if you want to push in through the garage, you need 2 points of access. One from the doorway in the garage, and the second one is the actual garage door itself.
Yeah, to hit underneath.
Exactly, and that way you'll have one passage where the Monty's gonna move in first, and you'll have another angle from another player coming in from below, so he cannot be hit by a defender unless they get very aggressive. Now, C9, of course, are bringing the Thermite, so Goddess will have the necessary equipment, but we've also seen a spike a bit in Sledge play with primarily Sledge is always going to this office, opening the hatch, and just playing around in construction until there's a final push.
Yeah, and Fox has been playing a pretty good Sledge most of the season so far in terms of using it as kind of an entry fragger, and I think it's been working out fairly well for him. You see the access he's getting clearing enough rooms, giving himself an out in there to help Schlongi get into the air. And I think this is overall a good strategy for this take, as we were talking about. Taking from the side is much better than just trying to push in solely from the outside. But we'll see if this take is actually going to work in terms of how they push. But they're not pushing from the stairwell like we were just talking about. They're actually pushing horizontally, which I think makes more sense than what we saw Vitality doing all weekend.
All right, Fox will take control of the bedroom, as should be waiting around for Schlongi here to come in. They realized, okay, we can't really rely on that push from the garage itself. We might have to come in from another angle. Laxing coming in, of course, on the drone here. Twitch. And they should have shot it down here. There you go. He still has one shock drone, I guess.
Yeah, hopefully got some of the batteries first to make sure that they can open that. But we'll see. Nick's actually playing in the garage itself. Because they didn't open up any of the garage, that's going to give them a lot of freedom of movement. However, it looks like they're controlling a lot.
They already have everything set up here at SK. Just chuck in the impacts on top and make sure they blow out any thermites that are setting in. Goddess will go for it. And I wonder if Pojo's going for impacts. Yes, he is, but no! Not enough. Not enough splash really here to save the day for SK. But there you go. Now all that Monty has to do is just set himself right at the entrance. Maybe somebody will shoot him from behind it. Nothing just yet. Retro trying to peek in against the Maestro in the back, and Retro takes one bullet to the shield. Nyx goes down.
Well, that was a good play. Now, Monty doesn't have to worry about that hole in the floor, but he pushed it right through it. That was the second gas canister out. Pojo now pressured, throws his last impact. That works!
He somehow gets it, using the impact to his advantage. Jarvis with one. Fox running in, expecting a player on the side, but there's nobody there. Nobody's on call. And last alive is Goddess on the thermite. Taking a few shots into Jarvis, but there's no time left, and hot and cold with the BM knife. C9.
The second 6-0.
Oh,
series.
Boy. It's a good thing I don't have Twitch chat on, because that's a C9 lol if I've ever seen one.
That is unfortunate to not only be the only team to get a 6-0. Oh, there we go. All about that. I almost consider that the elite skin for Legion at this point.
Oh, God, no.
But to go from being the only team to get a 6-0 to be now the only team to not only get a 6-0, but get two of them. They're collecting them.
Playing like absolute god today.
Laxing. You need to stick around, buddy, in the scoreboard so we can see, because you're usually the top fragger, and we want to see that at the top of the scoreboard as much as it must hurt losing.
That's yet another loss.
Swift one at that. But at least we got to see some interesting strategies, despite some of them not working. It was funny to see how many deployable shields to SK committed